The observation deck of the Galactic Cartographic Institute was quiet except for the soft hum of machinery. Holographic star maps floated in the air, casting blue light across the room. Alien workers moved between the displays, studying data that had taken decades to collect. Trox stood before the largest map, his insect-like body perfectly still. He had been a cartographer for 40 years. He knew every star system, every trade route, every explored sector of the galaxy. But there was one thing that had always bothered him, something he had learned not to question. "Excuse me, Senior Cartographer Trock?" He turned to see a human woman approaching. Her name badge read Dr. Hannah Kong, Human Liaison Officer. She was new to the Institute, having arrived only 3 weeks ago. "Yes, Dr. Kong?" Trock's translator device converted his clicking sounds into words she could understand. "I need to ask you about something strange I found." Hannah held up her datapad. "I've been reviewing the galactic maps from the past 3,000 years. Every civilization that has ever created a star map has the same unusual feature." Trock felt his body tense. He knew what she was going to say. "They all stop at the same place," Hannah continued. She projected images into the air. Dozens of maps appeared, each one from a different species and different time period. Look, the Velkari maps from 2,000 years ago. The Kthari navigation charts from 1,500 years ago. The Xanther survey maps from 800 years ago. They're all different, but they all have one thing in common." She highlighted the borders. "Every single map ends at human space. And the borders aren't natural. They form perfect geometric patterns. Someone drew these lines deliberately. Other workers had stopped what they were doing. They were listening now, though they pretended not to. It is standard procedure," Trock said carefully. "We do not survey beyond certain boundaries." "But why?" Hannah zoomed in on the human territory. "These borders don't follow any logical pattern. They don't mark resource boundaries or habitable zone limits. And here's what really bothers me. Human space only contains 40,000 star systems. That's relatively small compared to most galactic powers. Yet every species in the galaxy has agreed not to map anything beyond these specific coordinates. Why?" Trock looked around the room. The other cartographers were watching now, not even pretending to work. "Perhaps we should discuss this privately," he said. They moved to a small conference room. Once the door was sealed, Trock's posture changed. His confidence seemed to drain away. "There is a council directive," he said quietly. Directive 447H. It states that survey of human-controlled space is prohibited. Every species on the council voted for it. Every single one. When was this directive issued? The year 2247. Hannah checked her datapad. That's the year of first contact. According to official records, a council ship met a human colony vessel. There was peaceful cultural exchange. Treaties were signed within months. "The official records are incomplete," Trock said. "What do you mean?" "I do not know the full story. The detailed files are sealed. Classification level Omega. They cannot be opened for 10,000 years. Hannah stared at him. 10,000 years? Why would first contact records be sealed for 10,000 years? "I do not know. But I found something once, years ago. A data fragment that had been corrupted. It had a reference label attached to it." "What did it say?" "The Frontier Incident. Year 2247. The room was silent. Hannah looked at the star maps still rotating on the wall display. Those perfect geometric borders. The unanimous vote. The sealed files. "I need to see those archives," she said. "It is impossible. The security is absolute." Hannah smiled slightly. "My credentials as human liaison give me full archival access for matters of diplomatic significance. I checked before I came here." Trock examined her authorization codes. His translator made a sound like nervous laughter. "Your species writes very clever contracts. So will you help me?" Trock was quiet for a long time. He had spent 40 years not asking questions. 40 years accepting that some things were simply tradition. But now, looking at this young human woman who didn't understand why she should be afraid, he made a decision. "Meet me at Archive Station 7 tomorrow morning. Level 43, Section 12. Come at 6 o'clock before anyone else arrives." "What will we find there?" "The truth about why the maps ended human space," Trock said. "And Dr. Kong, I must warn you. I have worked with many species in my long career. I have never been afraid of information before. But this truth has kept the entire galaxy silent for 200 years. Some knowledge is dangerous." Hannah stood up. "I understand the risk. But I need to know why every civilization in the galaxy draws their maps the same way. Why they all stop at our borders and never ask questions. After she left, Trock returned to his workstation. He looked at the maps again, those perfect geometric lines that marked human territory. For the first time in 40 years, he let himself ask the question he had always avoided. Were those borders meant to keep humans contained, or were they meant to keep everyone else out? He did not sleep that night. The archive station was cold and empty at 6 in the morning. Hannah arrived first, her breath forming small clouds in the chilled air. The lights were dim, activated only by motion sensors as she walked down the corridor. This deep underground facility stored the oldest records in the galaxy. Trock appeared from a side passage, moving quietly despite his bulky frame. He carried a special access key, something that had taken him all night to acquire from a friend who owed him a favor. "Are you certain about this?" he asked. "Yes," Hannah said firmly. They moved through 3 security checkpoints. Hannah's credentials opened the first 2. Trock's borrowed key opened the third. The final door slid open with a hiss, revealing a room filled with data storage units that hadn't been accessed in 2 centuries. "The files about first contact should be here," Trock said, moving to a terminal. His clawed fingers worked quickly across the interface. "Everything from 2247 is... Wait. This is strange." "What?" "There are 2 sets of records. The public version and another set marked as classified." He pulled up both files. "Look at the file sizes. The public record is tiny. The classified file is enormous." Hannah leaned closer. "Open the classified one." Trock hesitated, then entered the commands. A warning appeared on the screen in red letters. "Sealed by unanimous council vote. Classification Omega. Authorized viewers, 0. Your credentials override this," Trock said. "You must enter your authorization." Hannah placed her hand on the scanner. There was a long pause as the system processed her identity. Then the warning disappeared and files began to appear. The first was a video file labeled First Contact Incident, Complete Transmission. "Play it," Hannah whispered. The holographic display activated. They saw the bridge of a council ship, the kind used for exploration missions. The crew was mixed species, all looking excited and curious. A voice spoke in the old Kthari language. "We have detected a human settlement on the 4th planet. The colony appears primitive, early space-age technology. Population approximately 50,000. We are approaching to initiate standard integration protocols." Hannah felt her stomach tighten. Integration protocols. That was the polite term for what the Council used to do, absorbing smaller civilizations into their structure, whether those civilizations wanted it or not. The video continued. The Council ship sent a message to the human colony, informing them that they were now under Council protection and governance. The response from the colony was simple. "Negative. We decline your offer. Please leave our system." The Council captain looked amused. "They do not understand. Prepare the integration fleet. Send word to Council Command. We have found another species that needs guidance." Trock made a nervous clicking sound. Hannah watched in silence. The video jumped forward in time. Now there were dozens of Council ships in the system, massive warships surrounding the small human colony world. The captain was speaking again. "Final warning to human settlement. Accept Council integration or face consequences. You have 1 standard hour to comply." The humans responded by launching a small transport ship. It headed away from the planet, moving toward the edge of the system. The Council captain ordered 3 ships to intercept it. "A single transport will not escape," the captain said confidently. "Bring it back intact. We want them to understand that resistance is..." The transmission turned to static. When the video cleared, everything had changed. The timestamp showed only 47 minutes had passed, but the bridge was dark. Emergency lights flickered. The crew looked terrified. "Repeat last transmission," someone shouted. "What happened to Battle Group 7? A voice crackled through the speakers. "They're gone. All 12 ships. They fell apart. Not destroyed. Disassembled. In seconds." Another voice interrupted. "Battle Group 3 reporting. We are under attack. Enemy forces are inside our hull. I don't know how they got in. They didn't breach the airlock. They just appeared in the corridors. They're not fighting us. They're studying us. Taking apart our weapons while we try to use them. They're taking apart our engines while we try to escape. There." Static again. The captain's face filled the screen. He looked pale, his skin tone shifted to the fear color of his species. "Emergency evacuation. All ships retreat. This is not first contact. This is not integration. This is... I don't know what this is. The video showed the view outside the ship. Of the 60 Council warships that had arrived, only 7 remained intact. The others floated in pieces, their components separated with surgical precision. And moving between them, small human ships moved like hunting predators, fast and impossibly agile. They let us see them, the captain whispered. They wanted us to see. They wanted us to understand. One of the human ships approached the bridge viewport. Through the transparent hull, a human face looked directly at the camera. The person raised one hand and pointed at the fleeing Council ships. The gesture was clear: go. Tell them what you saw. The transmission ended abruptly. Hannah and Trock stood in silence in the cold archive room. Finally, Hannah spoke. How many ships escaped? Trock checked the file. 1. Only 1 Council ship made it out of that system. His voice was barely a whisper. The official records say first contact was peaceful. They say humans were primitive and welcomed Council guidance. But the truth is that humanity destroyed 59 warships in less than 1 hour. And they let 1 ship survive to carry the message back. Hannah felt cold. What happened next? The Council sued for peace within 72 hours. The treaty was signed in 3 days. And every species on the Council agreed to one simple term. Human space is human space. We do not enter. We do not survey. We do not ask questions. For 200 years, Hannah said slowly, the entire galaxy has been afraid to even map our borders. Trock nodded. Now you understand why the maps end at human space. It is not tradition. It is survival. Hannah didn't sleep for 2 days after watching the archived footage. She kept seeing that human face through the viewport, pointing at the fleeing ships. The message was clear. Run and tell them what happens when you try to conquer us. On the 3rd day, she requested a meeting with Ambassador Miho Park, the senior human diplomat stationed at the Galactic Council headquarters. His office was in the Human Embassy, a building that stood apart from the others, surrounded by empty space that no other species would occupy. Miho was in his 60s with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served as ambassador for 20 years. When Hannah entered his office, he was looking out the window at the Council towers in the distance. You accessed the archive, he said without turning around. It wasn't a question. How did you know? Because you have the same look that every human gets when they learn the truth. Fear mixed with confusion. You're wondering if we're the monsters. He turned to face her. Sit down, Dr. Kong. We need to talk. Hannah sat. The official history says first contact was peaceful. It was peaceful, Miho said. After the first hour. They came to conquer us. We destroyed 59 warships. We defended ourselves. There's a difference. Miho poured 2 glasses of water and handed her one. The Council didn't know what they were dealing with. They thought we were primitive because we only had 1 small colony world. They didn't understand that we had been watching them for decades before they found us. We had faster-than-light travel before first contact? Much longer before. We explored quietly. We studied every major civilization in the galaxy. We learned their languages, their military capabilities, their weaknesses. And when the Council came to Earth with their integration fleet, we were ready. Hannah drank the water. Her throat was dry. What happened to the people on those ships? We didn't kill anyone, Miho said. That's the part the archive footage doesn't show clearly. We boarded their ships, yes. We disabled their weapons and engines, yes. But every crew member survived. We put them in escape pods and sent them home. Then why are they so afraid of us? Miho smiled, but there was no humor in it. Because we took apart their most advanced warships like children's toys. In front of them. While they watched. We showed them that their weapons couldn't hurt us, their armor couldn't stop us, their technology couldn't compete with ours. We proved that if we wanted to conquer the galaxy, nothing could prevent it. But we don't want to conquer the galaxy. They don't know that. All they know is what we showed them that day. Overwhelming capability combined with perfect restraint. The most terrifying combination possible. Hannah thought about the geometric borders on the maps. The borders aren't random, are they? No. They're optimized firing solutions. Every major civilization center in the galaxy falls within calculated strike range from human space. If we wanted to, we could reach any Council world in less than 6 hours. That's why the borders have that strange shape. They're not defensive. They're offensive. Miho nodded. The Council understands this. That's why the treaty exists. That's why the maps end at our borders. They agreed not to enter our space, not to survey our territory, not to ask questions about our capabilities. In exchange, we agreed to stay within our borders and maintain the peace. Maintain the peace? What does that mean? Before Miho could answer, the office door opened. A Kthari council member entered, elderly and walking with a cane. Hannah recognized him from the diplomatic files. High Counselor Vec, one of the few remaining officials who had been present during the original first contact. Ambassador Park, Vec said, his voice wheezing. I heard that your new liaison accessed the archives. I wish to speak with her. Miho gestured to a chair. Vec sat slowly, his old joints creaking. Dr. Kong, Vec began, I was a young officer on one of the ships that escaped that day. I watched humanity dismantle our fleet with casual efficiency. I saw my friends put into escape pods and sent away like unwanted cargo. And I saw something else. What? Mercy. Your people could have killed us all. Instead, they showed us we were children playing with dangerous toys. They taught us a lesson. Vec's eyes were distant, remembering. After that day, the council changed. For 200 years, we have had the longest period of galactic peace in recorded history. Wars between member species stopped. Border conflicts disappeared. Do you know why? Hannah shook her head. Because we finally had a common fear. Something bigger than our petty rivalries. Your species became the shadow that keeps us honest. The threat that makes cooperation preferable to conflict. You're saying humanity is the reason for galactic peace? I'm saying, Vec replied carefully, that sometimes the monster in the dark serves a purpose. We tell ourselves the maps ended human space because we respect your sovereignty. The truth? We are terrified of what we might find if we looked closer. And that fear keeps us civilized. Miho spoke quietly. The galaxy was a powder keg 200 years ago. Species on the edge of massive wars. Weapons that could destroy planets. We didn't want to rule the galaxy, Dr. Kong. We just wanted to prevent it from tearing itself apart. Hannah looked between the two men. So we became the threat that no one dares to provoke. The fear that enforces peace. Yes, Vec said. And we are grateful for it even if we cannot say so publicly. The old counselor stood to leave. At the door he turned back. The maps ended human space for a reason, Dr. Kong. Some borders exist not to keep people out, but to remind them why cooperation is wise. Your species gave us that gift even if we were too proud to ask for it. After he left, Hannah sat in silence. Finally she asked, is this what we are? The galaxy's frightening guardian? For now, Miho said. Until they're ready to know the full truth. 3 weeks after her conversation with Ambassador Miho, Hannah received an encrypted message. It contained coordinates and a single sentence. Come see what the maps don't show. Bring Trock if he's willing. The message was signed by Captain Jisoo Nam, a name Hannah didn't recognize. But the authentication codes were genuine, marked with the highest level of human military clearance. Trock agreed to come, though his nervous clicking increased when he saw the coordinates. That location is beyond the galactic rim. There's nothing out there. No stars, no planets, no reason for anyone to be there. Then why would they ask us to meet them there? They took a small transport ship, following the coordinates through increasingly empty space. After 2 days of travel, they arrived at a location that appeared completely vacant. Sensors showed nothing. Then a voice came through their communication system. Transport vessel, please transmit your identification codes. Hannah sent the codes from the encrypted message. There was a brief pause. Welcome, Dr. Kong and Cartographer Trock. Please adjust your sensors to frequency band 793. Hannah made the adjustment. Trock made a choking sound. The empty space was no longer empty. Dozens of structures appeared on their sensors, massive stations that had been invisible moments before. They were human-made, silent and watching, hidden in the darkness beyond the galaxy's edge. A docking corridor extended toward their ship. They had no choice but to follow it. Inside the station, Captain Jisoo Nam waited for them. She was young, perhaps 30 years old, with the calm demeanor of someone who had seen things that would terrify most people. She wore a dark uniform with no visible rank insignia. Thank you for coming, Jisoo said. I know this must be confusing. Please follow me. She led them through corridors that hummed with quiet power. Through windows, Hannah could see other stations in the distance, forming a network that stretched for millions of kilometers. How many stations are there? Hannah asked. Thousands, Jisoo replied. This is just one monitoring network. We have others in different sectors. Monitoring what? Jisoo brought them to a large observation room. The walls were covered with displays showing star systems throughout the galaxy. Each display tracked different things: fleet movements, weapons development, political situations, economic data. Trox stared at the displays, his translator emitting sounds of distress. You're watching everyone. Every species. Every government. Everything. Yes, Jisoo said simply. We've been watching since before first contact. We know where every warship in the galaxy is located. We track every weapons research facility. We monitor every political crisis that might lead to conflict. Hannah felt cold. Why? Because the galaxy was destroying itself when we found it? 3 major wars in the 5 decades before first contact. Billions dead. Planets reduced to ash. The Council couldn't stop it because the Council members were the ones fighting. Jisoo pulled up historical data. Hannah saw war after war, conflict after conflict, stretching back centuries. Then first contact happened, Jisoo continued. And suddenly the war stopped. Every major conflict in the past 200 years has ended quickly and mysteriously. Do you know why? You intervene, Hannah said quietly. Not directly. We never show ourselves. But we arrange things. A fleet heading to start a war suffers navigation errors and ends up meeting the enemy face to face, forcing negotiations. A weapons facility researching planet killers experiences mysterious equipment failures. 2 hostile governments find their leaders accidentally sharing a damaged space station, where they must cooperate to survive. Trox's clicking grew louder. The Korthvelix War. 20 years ago. Both command ships collided due to navigation failures. They were forced to negotiate. We thought it was incredibly unlucky coincidence. It was us, Jisoo confirmed. We altered their navigation systems remotely. The war would have killed billions. Instead, it ended with both sides talking to each other. You manipulated them, Hannah said. We saved them. There's a difference. Jisoo pulled up more data. In the past 200 years, we've prevented 14 major wars, stopped 6 genocide attempts, and disabled 3 doomsday weapons. All without anyone knowing we were there. Hannah looked at the displays showing the entire galaxy under surveillance. How is this different from what the Council tried to do to us? They wanted to control humanity for our own good. The Council wanted to rule. We just want peace. Jisoo's expression hardened. But you're right to question it. That's why I brought you here. Because this situation can't last forever. What do you mean? We've been the invisible guardians for 2 centuries. The galaxy thinks we're a sleeping monster that might wake up and destroy them. That fear keeps the peace. But fear isn't a foundation for real cooperation. Eventually the truth needs to come out. Trox spoke carefully. If the galaxy learns you've been manipulating events, watching everything, preventing wars through deception, they will feel betrayed. I know, Jisoo said. That's the problem we're trying to solve. How do we transition from being the feared unknown to being honest partners? How do we reveal that we've been protecting them without making them feel like puppets? Hannah understood now why she had been brought here. You need people who can help bridge that gap. People who understand both sides. Exactly. You've seen the archive footage. You know what we're capable of. But you also work with the galactic community. You understand their perspective. What are you asking me to do? Help us find a way to end this. The surveillance, the manipulation, the fear-based peace. We want the galaxy to be ready for the truth. But we need to know when that time comes and how to reveal it without causing chaos. Hannah looked at the displays showing thousands of worlds under watch. The weight of the secret felt crushing. Then she looked at Trock, whose entire body was trembling. Trock, she asked gently. What do you think? The old cartographer was quiet for a long moment. Finally he spoke. I think I understand now why the maps end at human space. Not because of what's inside those borders. Because of what looks back from them. You've been watching over us like parent watching children play with fire. Yes, Jisoo said. And like any parent, we know that eventually the children must grow up and learn to be safe on their own. Hannah made her decision. I'll help. But on one condition. We start working on the exit strategy now. No more delays. The galaxy deserves to know the truth, even if it's difficult. Jisoo smiled, a genuine expression of relief. Agreed. Welcome to the Silent Watch, Dr. Kong. Now let me show you just how much we've been protecting them from themselves. 6 months had passed since Hannah's visit to the monitoring station. She had returned to her work at the Cartographic Institute, but everything felt different now. Every map she looked at reminded her of the truth hidden behind those geometric borders. Trock had changed too. He moved through the institute quietly, no longer the confident senior cartographer he had once been. The weight of knowledge had aged him. Today they had been summoned to Earth. Ambassador Miho had arranged a meeting with someone important, though he wouldn't say who. Hannah and Trock traveled together, making small talk that carefully avoided the topic that consumed both their thoughts. The meeting was held in a secure facility deep underground in Seoul. When they arrived, they found Miho waiting with an elderly man in a simple military uniform. His name badge read Admiral Hyunwoo Choi. Dr. Kong, cartographer Trock, the admiral said, his voice rough with age. Thank you for coming. I was the one who designed humanity's response during first contact. I've been waiting to meet someone like you. Hannah felt her heart race. You were there? 200 years ago? I was young then. I'm very old now. Hyunwoo gestured for them to sit. I've lived with the consequences of my decisions for 2 centuries. I want to talk to you about what we created and what must come next. The Silent Watch, Hannah said. The surveillance network. The manipulation of galactic events. Yes, all of it was my design. Do you think I'm a monster? The question hung in the air. Trock's clicking sounds filled the silence. Finally, Hannah spoke. I think you did what you thought was necessary. But I also think it can't continue forever. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Good answer. That's why you're here. The council has requested a formal meeting to discuss updating the galactic maps. They want to finally survey the regions near human space with our permission. It's a test. They want to see if we'll say yes. Will we? Hannah asked. That depends on what you recommend. You and Trock have become informal ambassadors. You understand both perspectives. The council trusts Trock because he's one of them. They're starting to trust you because you asked the questions no one else dared to ask. Trock spoke quietly. If we allow the survey, they will discover the monitoring stations. They will learn about the Silent Watch. Everything will be revealed. Yes, Hyunwoo agreed. Or we can refuse and continue as we have for 200 years. The monster in the dark, keeping peace through fear. Hannah thought about the past 6 months. She had watched the surveillance data, seen how humanity prevented conflicts before they could begin. She had also seen the cost of that protection. A galaxy that lived in fear, that stopped exploring, that drew their maps to end at human borders because they were too afraid to look closer. What do you want? She asked the admiral. Hyunwoo's expression was tired. I want to stop being the monster. I want humanity to be partners with the galaxy, not its hidden guardians. But I'm afraid of what happens when the truth comes out. What if they attack us out of fear? What if they unite against us? They won't, Trock said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. I have spoken with Counselor Vec many times since learning the truth. Others on the council suspect what you've been doing. They've noticed the convenient accidents, the mysterious equipment failures that prevent wars. They're not stupid. But they haven't confronted us, Miho noted. Because they're grateful, Trock continued. The galaxy has had 200 years of unprecedented peace. Yes, you manipulated events. Yes, you watched everything. But you also saved billions of lives. When the truth comes out, there will be anger. There will be fear. But there will also be relief. Hannah leaned forward. I agree with Trock. It's time to end this. Allow the survey. Let them find the monitoring stations. But we control how the information comes out. We prepare a full disclosure. Show them everything. The surveillance, the interventions, the wars we prevented. Show them the price we paid to keep them safe. And if they reject us? Hyunwoo asked. Then at least we tried to do the right thing. Being honest about our mistakes is better than hiding behind fear forever. The admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, the first genuine smile Hannah had seen from him. I was hoping you'd say that. I've spent 2 centuries being the architect of fear. I'd like to spend whatever time I have left being the architect of trust instead. 2 months later, Hannah stood in the Galactic Council chambers. Representatives from every major species filled the room. On the main display, she showed them everything. The surveillance networks, the prevented wars, the manipulated events, the watching stations hidden throughout the galaxy. The chamber was silent when she finished. Then Counselor Vec stood, his old body straightening with effort. For 200 years, he said, we have drawn our maps to end at human space. We told ourselves it was respect for sovereignty. We told ourselves it was tradition. But we all knew the truth. We were afraid. He looked around the chamber. Now we know what we were afraid of. Not conquerors. Not destroyers. But guardians who cared enough to protect us from ourselves, even at the cost of being feared and hated. Another counselor stood. Then another. Within minutes, the entire chamber was standing. Hannah felt tears in her eyes. Beside her, Trock's clicking sounds were rapid and emotional. That evening, Hannah returned to the Cartographic Institute. She opened a new file and began creating an updated map of the galaxy. For the first time in 200 years, the map didn't end at human space. She added a new notation where the old borders had been, former boundary of known space. Status, open for cooperative survey. Trock appeared beside her workstation. Do you regret learning the truth? He asked. Hannah looked at the peaceful galaxy displayed on her screen. 2 centuries without major war. Billions of lives saved. A future where humanity could finally step out of the shadows. Every day, she said softly. And never. The map updated, spreading light into regions that had been marked as unknown for 200 years. The borders dissolved. The galaxy opened. And in the darkness beyond, the silent monitoring stations began to power down, one by one, their long watch finally coming to an end. The maps no longer ended at human space. They began there, reaching out toward a future built on truth instead of fear.